Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons with another keto recipe. Hello, in this video it will be another keto recipe. This time it's another bread recipe, but this one is actually like a bread with yeast and everything. It's really good. It's quite simple to make, lots of ingredients. But it behaves exactly as bread does. It's brilliant. Anyway, I think you're going to really like this one. Okay, so first of all I like to put my yeast in the warm water just to make sure it is still alive, so that'll take a few minutes. And while we're doing that, let me show you some pictures of these different flours, and these are not that easy to find. You know, you can order them online. In the UK, Holland and Barrett is very useful. But there they are, and the full recipe will be in the description below, so you'll be able to find it. And that's psyllium husk, I like saying that. Anyway, we need a couple of eggs as well. So if you were making a standard bread, this would, I guess, be considered an enriched dough because it has butter and eggs in it. And there we go, we can see some bubbles formed on there. That took sort of between 5 and 10 minutes. And that way we know we can crack on. So I put my wet ingredients in, followed by all these different flours. In they all go. And that bit there, I didn't mention it earlier, that is xanthan gum. I think I've said it right. I think that is quite crucial for making these sort of keto type recipes. And you'll notice I'm starting with a paddle, not a hook. I did try with a hook and it sort of didn't mix it, but if you give it a few minutes, say 3-4 minutes with a paddle, and then get the hook in, it then behaves more like a bread dough. And I would recommend using a stand mixer if you can. I think you would be able to do this by hand. That took about, again, between 5 and 10 minutes. I think if you're doing it by hand, I think I would use this technique. I would use water rather than some of the flours to stop it from absorbing too much. That's a technique I've used a lot with my sourdoughs. It's really useful. But what I'm doing here, just a couple of minutes, sort of trying to bring it into a tight ball, like so, sort of stretching it, getting a nice taut skin on the outside. I'm trying to treat it exactly as I would a regular dough, a bread dough. So a lightly greased bowl for which to put the dough so it can then proof, or prove, however you're supposed to say it. I put the plate on top, and then you got to wait. I had to put the plate the other way around and in because it proved so much it was going to get caught on the plate itself. So get it out onto your work surface, and again I'm using water here. Get my hands nice and wet. I'm just going to form this into a rough rectangle so I can roll it up. The recipes I've seen, and I will link to the channel I got this recipe from, it's called the Keto King, and I have made a couple of alterations to the recipe, but I'm sure his work's fine. It's just I didn't have all of the ingredients that was on his. But I'm forming it into a rectangle, and then I'm rolling it into what I call a bloomer. You can use a tin, a bread tin. I have done it a few times, but I found it proved too much and it sort of ended up a really weird shape, so I preferred it like this. But if you're going to use a tin, make sure you butter it really well, or oil it, grease it, otherwise it might stick. So I've got the shape I want. I'm now going to cover mine with some cling film, lightly greased again so that it doesn't stick. And I never do this type, like drape it over like a tent and try to sort of pick up the bits like that, because we don't want the cling film becoming tight. Yeah, more waiting while it proves. It won't prove nicely. So my oven's on. There's the temperature on the screen. The original recipe for Keto King, he says 25 minutes. I found I need to cook mine for at least half an hour before I'm happy that it's ready. But there we go. There you go. Loaf of bread. It's not quite as neat a shape as I wanted it to be, but you know, it's homemade. There we go. Let that cool. More waiting, yes. Wait for it to cool down. Now we've waited. There you go. Look. I mean, it just looks really good. And my lady, who is my harshest critic, she says this is her favourite bread. She thinks it's better than my sourdough. I think she's mad. I think sourdough is better, but you know, this is very, very good. So let's make a sandwich, shall we? Because this is what you're missing, isn't it, guys? So you can have lashings of butter. That's not a problem. Bit of mustard, yeah. So obviously what follows next is some ham, some tomato. Well, you make a sandwich, you can put whatever you want in it, can't you? There we go. I like to season my tomatoes. Bit of rocket or arugula if you're watching in the States. Turn around and look. I made a keto sandwich, and it is so much better than the almond sponge from before. But look at that. I'm going to take a great big bite of this and just say,
Well, I say. But I hear you asking, Uncle Matt, can you make toast with it? Well, this is a bit fresh, really, for making toast. But I thought, well, I'm going to make some crostinis. So, on a tray, bit of seasoning, bit of oil. I'm going to bake those until they is nice and crispy like that. And what are they nice with? Well, anyone for a baked, gooey camembert fondue? Try to control yourselves. Look at this. This is food porn. Anyway, just going to hand you over to me for the tasting.
Look at that. That is a perfectly lovely loaf of bread. And this sandwich is great. So, yeah. It's basically as nice as any other loaf of bread. Maybe a sourdough's a bit special, but that is really, really lovely. And what it does, it keeps quite well as well. So it keeps reasonably fresh for about 3 or 4 days. So I do recommend, if you are doing keto and you're really missing bread, that really does the trick. And you can toast it. It's a fabulous loaf of bread, and it's hardly got any carbs in it. So you can eat that without feeling guilty, and you're not ruining your diet. So thank you ever so much for watching Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons. Please, while you're here, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, subscribe if you don't mind, comment, share, any of those things that you could do, or what's that, press the bell thing, anything like that would really help to tell YouTube that, you know, it's not so bad here, and perhaps they could suggest my videos to a few more people, and I will be so grateful to you. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video coming pretty soon. Bye.